A supply chain is the whole process of making and delivering a product or service, from getting the raw materials to giving the finished product or service to customers. The supply chain shows everything that goes into making a product or service, including what happens at each stage, how information is shared, how natural resources are turned into useful materials, how people are used, and what else goes into making the final product or service. Why is it important for a business to understand its supply chain? One of the most important parts of an external analysis in a strategic planning process is making a map of the supply chain. Setting up the supply chain in a clear way is important because it helps a company figure out its own market and where it wants to be in the future. When making corporate level strategies, a company often has to decide if it wants to focus on just one line of business or if it wants to get into other industries that are related or not. Each part of a supply chain is essentially a different business. For example, extracting raw materials and making things are two different businesses. The supply chain helps a company figure out who else is involved in each stage. This gives the company an idea of how attractive or competitive an industry might be that it might want to get into in the future. Let's look at two different supply chains to see how they work. Generic supply chain. The first step in the generic supply chain is finding and getting raw materials. The raw materials are then taken to a supplier, which acts as a wholesaler, by a logistics provider. The materials are taken to a manufacturer, or more likely, to more than one manufacturer, where they are refined and made into a finished product. The finished product is then sent to a distributor, who sells it in bulk. It is then sent to a retailer. The retailer sells the item to customers in a store. When the consumer buys it, the cycle is complete. But it is the consumer's demand that drives the production of more raw materials, so the cycle keeps going. Supply chain for an online business. In this case, the e-commerce company runs a website where different products are sold. When a customer orders a product, the order is handled by technology like a shopping cart, an order system, or a third-party product like Shopify. The payment processors then take care of the order's payment transactions, which actually starts a new supply chain. Payment processors have their own systems, but most of the time they use third parties like PayPal, Stripe, and banks and other providers. When someone places an order for a product, the warehouse gets the order and makes sure the product is ready to ship. The warehouse can be run by the company itself or by a third-party logistics company. The order is then given to the shipping company by the warehouse. Again, shipping can be done in-house or by a separate company. After being shipped, the package goes to the customer's door and is given to the customer.